Spencer, and this is my Skyline Rampage. Here's what I think about it. I've always theorized that a vertical arm quad would be more aerodynamic, and I found out today, sure enough, it is. So when I first flew it, the thing I noticed the most was it seemed like I didn't have to put in quite as much throttle, like maybe 10% less throttle just to get it to hover. And when I actually flew it, I realized, yeah, you don't have to put in nearly as much throttle. I have another quad with the same motors, same flight controller, same props, and it's about the same weight, but the aerodynamics on this one makes it so I can take off with a fraction of the power that the throttle I have to use that I had to give my other one. Words are hard. Another way to describe it is it feels kind of like it's naked. When you come around a corner on a traditional thick arm quad, you've got, as you kind of go backwards as you come around that corner, you've kind of got the arms braking, giving you like a parachute effect to help slow you down. On this, when you do a sharp 180 turn, there's nothing to stop you. It's just the quad. It's just the air coming up through the quad. And it corners differently. You don't kind of let the parachute effect slow you down. You have to really punch it in the corners. But for some reason, it still feels like it turns sharper than a normal quad. And I theorize that it has something that the air coming up through the quad when you do that sharp 180 turn doesn't, the flat arms maybe create more turbulent flow, whereas with these thin arms, it's just the props. I don't know, just a theory. When I first did that, I realized, oh, I wonder if that's what's going on, and I wonder if that means that I'll get more prop wash. So I did some maneuvers where I would normally get prop wash, and on this quad, a brand new untuned Betaflight 3.2 RC5 quad with stock PIDs, has less prop wash than my other quad, which I've tuned extensively to get rid of the prop wash. And I think that comes back again to the vertical arms, where the vertical arms create I don't know the technical terms of vortice or turbulence, so that the air coming through is then dirty air, whereas this, it's mostly clean air. Other thing I noticed about this is it's my most stable quad when I do punch outs. When I just go screaming through the air, my other one I get a little bit of oscillation. This thing is just rock solid. Again, I think it's aerodynamics coming into play. And the other thing I noticed is when I was doing some chicanes, I felt like the Rampage was way more twitchy. Oh, I'm getting a text. Way more twitchy on the roll axis. And my other quad I have tuned to the exact same roll rates. PIDs are obviously different. These are stock. But even though they have the same roll rate, this one feels, I don't know, maybe 20% crisper when it, or faster when it rolls. And this one, is this a stretched X or a true X? I'm not sure, but my other one is an extremely stretched X. And even so, this one feels like it rolls faster. Let's see here. The other thing about this, oh, this is interesting. So it sinks. That's the best way I can explain it. On a normal quad, when you're flying around, and you come around a corner and you get a little bit too high, you have to kind of just let the quad drift back down so you can hit the gate. The way to counteract that is you just do extra roll to help mitigate that floaty effect that you get. This one doesn't feel floaty at all. It just sinks. Again, I think it's the aerodynamics. I feel like there's more airflow that can come up through the quad. So when you let go of the throttle, it falls fast, which is actually quite nice. It feels more predictable than my other quads, where I have to kind of either roll to sink down or just wait and kind of do a like hockey stop to try and bleed off some speed so that I can sink down. This one, it feels much crisper on the, what would that be, the vertical axis. Other observations, I clipped a tree and I hit a wall really hard, and I like how well it survived. My other quad, I think I might have broken an arm. On this one, it's nighttime, it's kind of dark, you probably can't see this. I just banged up the corner pretty good. And the center screw that holds the camera in, that came loose, but I was just able to retighten it back in, and so it was fine. Maybe if there was like a nylon lock on that, it wouldn't have happened. But again, I hit a wall pretty hard, so I think that's pretty expected. If you hit something that hard that the screw might come loose, just tighten it back down. It was fine. Other things I like about the quad is, well, at first I wasn't sure about the camera, because if you look, the lighting's not very great right now. It's kind of dark. It just has one hole, and I couldn't figure out actually how to contact the creator to know how to mount the camera. But now that I've used it, it's actually quite brilliant. You put an M3 lock on the side of the camera, and then you actually squeeze the carbon around that camera, and it's just friction that holds it in. But it holds it way tighter than any other quad I've ever seen. And you don't have to worry about, on some quads when you can do the 4 screws, those always seem to come loose. With these 2 screws and just the friction of the carbon holding the camera in, it doesn't go anywhere. I hit the ground really hard once and my camera didn't move. On my Diatone GT2, the camera would have definitely flopped all the way to the ground. Other things that would be nice are this antenna holder here. Again, not the best lighting right here. This antenna holder is a really nice idea. I wish I had a way to hold it down in place, because I had it pop up a little bit once and the antenna started clipping the propellers. This isn't your normal plastic. This is extra strong. I don't know what this is, but it's not going to clip. And I wish I had a better way besides just taping it down that I could keep that either all the way down or all the way up. Maybe I could design a 3D printed top case that comes all the way down and extends and connects to that to hold it down, just so I don't have to worry about it. Other things I'd like to see would be the pod on top here. Isn't really a pod. I put plastic on the side of my quads because I run reverse props, and I'd prefer to keep my flight controller clean. Some people argue that that affects the yaw performance. I don't really believe that. Maybe it does. I don't really care because I like keeping it clean. It would be nice if there were an option to have a low profile pod. Might have mentioned this already, where because of, see all that wasted space up in here, I don't even need that. So if I could get a lower profile, that would be cool. Or something that's more aerodynamic. It's already pretty aerodynamic, but something that would 3D printed pod might be kind of cool. Overall, this is my favorite quad. It's my fastest quad. I wish it had a better way to attach these LEDs. I was excited because when I put this on here, they're almost the exact same dimension as the quad. But there's really not a good way, so I've just kind of got it zip tied on there. But overall, this is my favorite quad, and I'm going to be racing with this, and I think my other quad might be getting a frame transplant to this one, just because it feels so in control. I love the fact that it sinks and it's so predictable on the vertical axis. It's not floaty at all, and I think it's just pretty robust and reliable. So good job. I like this quad. Maybe 1 or 2 things that could be improved, but those are pretty nitpick, and as is, I think it's a fantastic quad.